Hello and welcome to another edition of the Blues Focus pod with me, your host, John Graham. And as ever, with me are Tom Oxland and Tom Garrett. Hello, guys.
Hi, mate.
Please remember, obviously, if you want to get any sort of updates from the Blues Focus pod, then go to bluesfocuspod.co.uk. You'll be able to find all the podcasts there. Please subscribe, or if you download it from iTunes, then please leave a comment. Good, bad, or indifferent, and we'll look to debate those over the coming weeks. So, right, let's get involved. A few things to cover off, I think, on this pod. So, firstly, the draw against Cov at the weekend. I'm going to open up straight away. I've got a few things to say on it, but I won't sort of combust straight away. So, Tom G, what were your thoughts on the game against Cov?
So, I think for me personally, I think, the first half, I think it was very nitty gritty. I think it, very much had a sort of a derby game feel to it. There weren't much between the two sides. I think, obviously the penalty we had was a good penalty as well by Ben, I must say. And then I just think, from the defending from Clayton, really, which was, for me, schoolboy defending, just play to the whistle. Obviously cost us a goal. I thought after the second half, I thought we watched them play a little bit. I thought we sat back. I thought they played a lot in front of us, and they looked a lot brighter. And I just feel like, it's just that sort of, we said it before, that missing link where, I thought Hogan worked very hard.
Yeah.
The other day, but on the other hand, I think there's only so much you can do, isn't there? And I think when you're seeing him make runs and that missing link, and I think I said it to you both the other day, I felt like Terrell was a bit missing in that game. Obviously, he went off, but again, I know Halilovic was injured as well. But it's just getting that ball into that final third, and when we do get into them situations, making sure we put the ball in the box, not crossing it out for a throw in. Or
absolutely. Tom, what were your thoughts on the game?
Well, I had to watch it from a bit of an odd view, but I managed to catch the majority of the game. I feel like it was kind of same old with minor improvements at home, really, that got us a point, but really we should have looked at that game as the game to build on and just proper go at it. We're 1-0 up. Finally get a penalty for once. Think luck would be on our side for the day. But it is a schoolboy error from Clayton there. And I know a lot of people were obviously criticising him, and then a lot of people were like, you can't just criticise Clayton if you look at the defensive shape, and which is fair. You look at San Jose, he's like virtually stood right next to Harley Dean, but he's not marking anybody.
Yeah.
But I think that just shows something that we've brought up on the podcast before about San Jose not being a natural centre-back. I mean, obviously we've just done a podcast with Darren Person. He said the same thing. It's, he's just not a centre-back for me. He's more of a deep line playmaker in that midfield role. So I'd rather, Friend slotted back into a back two with Harley, or even Roberts, Clark Sauter, who's not really had a proper run in the team yet. He's been chucked at left back, and that's about it, which isn't his natural position at the end of the day. So no, I feel like we should have won that game, despite maybe a poor performance, but it was there for the taking, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, I think it's a bit of a sad indictment that when we look at lots of the things on social media. But personally, I thought we were absolutely shocking. I'm just not going to I'm not going to dress it up in any way. I thought we were shocking. It goes back to I felt the same way as when we were playing against Derby and getting smashed, and when we were playing against Middlesbrough and getting smashed. And I think I messaged you guys towards the end of the first half. We're waiting for them to score. We're waiting for them to score. I mean, I watched it with my kids. Ben's sort of 15, James is 13. They were laughing at it. I mean, they're Blues fans. They were laughing at it first half. It was absolutely comical in areas. Clayton, we said on the pod, and fair play, Tom, you mentioned it. He said, I think you made the comment of probably, I think you said to put maybe San Jose, as you just said, in the middle of the park. Yeah. Or no, start Harper. That's what you said. Start Harper. And then you said, but I can guarantee you won't do that because he never does that. He'll play Clayton. And lo and behold, in he goes. And it's just, it baffles me. It baffles me that he gets in. He's had 10 days to work with the team and leaves Friend on the bench. So if he's on the bench, he's fit. In my world, he's definitely fit. If he's not fit, he shouldn't be in the squad. So he's basically made the call and said, my best player this season shouldn't start against Coventry, which is just, I mean, and I'm not a Karanka out guy, I'm not. But there are certain things that he's not alone. You know, managers do it all the time. Where you think, why are you doing it? So, and I thought, first half was just two very, very bang average sides going at it with no real method. I thought, is it O'Hare, their guy that sort of buzzes around the front?
Yeah.
The front. I like him. You know, I think he's lots of energy, and
we could have got him as well.
Yeah,
I think last, he was linked with him, and I was saying it when twice, 2 games we played against him. You know, we should have gone for him there. It wouldn't have cost much at all. And
yeah, and you know, I totally agree with you, Tom G, about Hogan. I'm a big critic of his. Since the Man City game, he's been like a different player.
Yeah.
Okay, he hasn't scored goals, but I think we said way back when, if you put a shift in as Blues fans, that's just the bare minimum. And then if you get your goal, then fair enough.
Yeah.
But so first half was just abject. Second half was slightly better, but it'd be a good one for us to maybe analyse tonight. So basically the middle of the park, it feels like we're playing the floor is lava. So basically what we do, we pass it a square around the back. Roberts will get it in a channel and smash it across the pitch, or the left back will do the same. Nobody actually will go through the middle of the park. So, I mean, Clayton it's as bad as you're going to see a performance in a blue shirt, end of. And if he starts today, if he's the answer, I don't know what the question is.
It will happen.
He can't.
I kind of felt sorry for him the other day. Got to a point where I thought you're going to have to take him off at half time because everything just from passing to, he just didn't look there, did he? I mean, again, whether that's because he hadn't had a run in the side for a while, but it doesn't help your cause, does it? And I think, as Tom said last week, I think I think we all could agree on that tonight. He's got to start Harper really in that midfield.
Yeah, and Harper, even the slight, 20 minutes on, he's getting the ball on the half turn. Clayton never does it. Sunjic never does it. So if you're not trying to receive as a centre midfielder, I mean, this is basic. I play pro football. If you get on the half turn, guess what? You can look to play it forward. Yeah. So I did. For me, that's as disappointing as I've been. I mean, more disappointed about that than I was about the Blackburn 2-0, because Blackburn are a decent side. We got done by picking the wrong centre half with San Jose against a quick team. But more disappointing because Coventry were absolutely awful. I mean, with 20 minutes to go, they were wasting time to get the draw.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm going to be honest, lads. Right. It seems this way to me, but does it seem this way to you that he's picking his favourite players or players that he has a high expectation of, and in a sense, like Adam Clayton, he raved about him before he even came to Blues, and when he came to Blues, he puts him in high regard just for that time at Middlesbrough. But other players can make certain players look good. And San Jose, I think, is another example, but he's also playing him out of position. It really just feels like he's trying to accommodate players that he signed that he likes. And he's trying to show that, this is my signing. It's a good signing. It'll work, I promise.
Yeah.
And I'm just a bit tired of it.
I think if he continues playing Clayton, he can watch him on YouTube when he gets a sack and he's watching him over the pool over a sangria in Spain. Because I mean, it gets to the point where, like I said, I haven't been a massive critic of his. I'm really interested to see what he does against Wycombe because again, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the home performance was just awful. I mean, it's similar to Coventry.
It's almost like, and I was thinking this the other day, when I was watching the game, it's almost like, when you watch a game of football and sometimes it takes, that 15, 20 minutes just to, get it ticking, it's a bit up in the air. But I think that's the few of the last, couple of the last Blues games. I think it's been like that, but for the full, like the other day, it was like that, but for the full 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So as you say, I don't think we can really, how many passes do we put together at the most? 4, 5, if that sometimes. Yeah. And that's all we need, like you say, and I think going back to the point you was making about Harper, I think, is that something that maybe we missed, having where we had Bellingham last year, who could, just get the ball on the turn.
Yeah,
and
great point. 100%. Yeah, well, I mean, Bellingham is, I mean, he let's be honest, I mean, absolutely fantastic player. Wasn't and still isn't the finished article, but just by playing football without it being coached out of him, without being, just sort of negative first, crab football, knock it backwards, knock it sideways. But the other thing is with San Jose, I can promise you now, the way he played on Saturday, where it was literally lump it. He didn't do that in one game for Bilbao, and he played about 300 games. Yeah. So he's put the shirt on and he's decided, right, I don't play football anymore. I'm just going to leather it as far as I can. Which, if you're back to goal and you're under pressure, 100% big fan of that. But when you can get it down, I mean, how much head tennis was there?
I know. That's what I mean. That's what it was like. It was just like bouncing, and you think, it's just, you don't even mind. If there'd been a couple of goals in it, you know what I mean, with a performance like that. But when it's that dead, it almost felt like, like a New Year's Day game, didn't it?
Yeah.
When everyone, beat
everyone still smashed.
yeah.
Well, I think that sort of leads us nicely on to, I think we're all in agreement that, probably not certainly for me, horrific performance. And I don't want to start setting a benchmark of, we didn't look like conceding against Cov. I mean, if that's where we're at, we might as well just sack it off now. But I think we brought players in now. So, Tom, firstly to you, do you want to just give us your thoughts on the window and the business, and then Tom G, get your thoughts on the players that have come in?
Okay, well, I don't know. I feel like a lot of Blues fans have been critical of this window. And I am probably going to get stick for saying this. And I know everyone loves Maxime Collin. He puts in a few good performances here and there, but for me, he's inconsistent. Like, you play against your Blackburns or even your Prestons, any team with pace, Maxime Collin is doomed. I don't care. Every single time I watch, he just gets so caught out. And then the days he has a good game tends to be against the slower top sides. So I can see why people look upon him as a brilliant fullback. But I see him as average as the rest of our squad. And I think the signing of Jan Valery is really impressive, considering what he was doing at Southampton a season or so ago.
Yeah.
He's highly rated and he's desperate to play football. So we need that young hunger in the side. And like Per said, we lack that young hunger in the side, that just desire to do well. And I think even I've said it before, we lack hunger, and I think Valery can bring that.
Yeah.
And, Cosgrove, he's got a point to prove. A lot of people are saying, he's come in as a Duke replacement, but Duke's still here, and we haven't replaced Adams for the fourth window, which is all true, but you can't write a player off before he's even kicked a ball.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how Cosgrove fares. And yes, he is similar to Djukovic, but he's got a bit more about him with his feet.
Yeah.
And that's what Djuki's always lacked.
Yeah.
Whereas for Harper, again, young, hungry midfielder, wants to do well. He's got everything to prove. But you look at the difference between him and Sunjic and Clayton, you don't see them getting in those good forward areas. Harper was doing that. And, you look at where Djuki should have passed instead of shooting. Harper was in the best position possible on the field at the time, and Djuki didn't pass. If he'd have passed, we'd have gone 2-1 up. End of story.
Yeah.
I'm happy with the signings. I'd give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. And, if we'd landed Nisbet as that finally the Adams replacement, then it would have been a 10 out of 10. But it's football, really.
Yeah. Tom G, thoughts?
Yeah, I think first of all, Matt, I probably agree with you there, Tom. I think Colin, he's a good player on his day. I think we spoke about it before, very inconsistent. But I think, if rumours are, and from what, maybe looking at playing two wing backs, and I think that's something we've never been able to do. One, because I just don't think Pedersen and Colin are quick enough to, to play that role really, as in getting forward and getting back. So I think Valery, from what I've seen of him, I think that, like you say, you want hungry to play, obviously want to play first team football. But again, it's just makes, competition for players a bit better. And I think with what we was only speaking about the other day, we weren't sure whether he was going to sign anyone. I think, I'd probably say, solid, as Tom said, 8, 9 out of 10 really in the end. I think the players that we've managed to, bring in right at the end, I don't know if they was in the pipeline for a while, but I think, we definitely needed a couple of strikers. I think going with Cosgrove, and then I think maybe if we'd have signed the other one as well, I don't think I would agree with that. I think the right option was signing the one and then signing obviously the young lad from Man City. Whether he's, cut out yet, we'll soon to see. But no, I think it was a good transfer window on the whole.
Yeah, and I think from my point of view, I don't really like. I'm only want to focus on us and what we do. But having seen a lot of social media, and it's sort of, we're getting sort of 2 or 3 hours away from the end of the window, and just I think really unfair criticism of the business we were doing or trying to get done. And all I would say is I didn't see. If you look at the bottom half of the division, I think we're probably more active than pretty much anybody else.
Yeah.
So, whether they're the right players, time will tell. I like the look of Harper, definitely. Valerie, I'm going to disagree with probably both of you. I do like Maxime Collin. I think that where his problem is by having a guy who's predominantly left-footed in front of him, having to pull him out of position because he's cutting inside and there's just acres of space, and I think he gets exposed. Do I think he's been as good as he was in previous seasons? No, I don't. Do I think we needed sort of Valerie to come in? Well, I definitely agree with you, Tom G. You need competition for places. Colin hasn't had that, and if he's been poor, he's either not been dropped or Dacres Cogley's come in, and I think he's still one for. I think he might benefit from going out on loan, a bit like Seddon's done. Not to get rid of him, absolutely not, but just to get some football in him. Cosgrove, his numbers on, I'm not sort of cock a hoop about just looking at his strike rate, but everyone's saying, well, we've got Dukey. Well, Dukey ain't scoring any goals. So one thing is for sure, Cosgrove ain't going to score any less. So I think, he gets in. I think you give him a go. And I hope they do give the lad, I think he goes by the name of Kiki. The Manchester City lad, and I'd put him straight on the bench and just do the sort of 10 or 15 minutes. He's come to play football. Let the lad play. He's sacked off one of the biggest clubs in Europe to come and play for us. So let's see what he's about. But I've got to praise him and say, look, they've put their hand in the pocket. I personally would have sacked them all off if I could have got one Deeney, then that's what I'd have done. But I've bored everybody to tears about that. But no, I think that Karanka's now getting to a point where it's his team. Maybe with the exception of centre half, I think he's going to be limited there. But everywhere else on the pitch, it's his team now. So very quickly the excuses go out the window. And I think if we can just, for God's sake, just stay up this season, then it then gives him another window, and that is the time to really kick on. Time is now to, I think, step up for the lads and get the 6 points. It'll give them a load of confidence. Tough games coming up, so I think anything less than 3 points could be a challenge going forward. So, right, we will see, lads. Thank you very much for joining us and giving your sage opinions. We'll see how we go. So hopefully next time we are on the pod, we are talking about a fantastic Birmingham City victory. Time will tell, but between now and then, thanks very much for joining us.